This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Here is day 4, the snap, the hold, the kick. It is good! It's good! 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 Bucs beat the Eagles! Matt Bryant is my hero! On to the 7, the 10, to the 20. Going coast to coast, 10, 5, touchdown, Tampa Bay! To the 20, to the 25, for a 30, to the 30-yard line. We could see history. 50, 40, to the 30-yard line. Run, Michael, run, Michael, run, Michael, run! Touchdown,
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today for episode 137, and my God, we have a lot to talk about. I'm so excited. I'm in such a good mood this week. I know we're coming off of a terrible loss, but to be frank, that's the last we're going to speak of it on this show because we have so much good news moving forward. I can't wait to get you guys into it. Speaking of the Bucs, after a 10-day break, they find themselves back in Raymond James this Sunday. They're going to be taking on Aaron Rodgers and the undefeated Green Bay Packers. We're going to preview that game and a little bit more for you today. But welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Evan, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, just sort of chugging along. You know, it's when you heard that the Bucs had a Thursday night game and then they weren't going to play for another 10 days. Man, you're coming up on the game, and it just seems like this 10 days just zoom by.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, and I will say that, you know, for the podcast's sake, I guess, the way that we've been pushing out content since the start of the season, it didn't really feel like the 10 days flew by to me. I mean, maybe it's because I've been working. Maybe it's just because of, you know, the break that we had. But I don't know, man. It felt like we missed like 6 months podcast time. And to be honest, I don't think we had that much to talk about up until today. But even then, I don't know. I miss jumping on the pod twice a week. So I am happy to be back to our regular schedule. And to open things up, we got a couple of announcements for everybody. First and foremost, if you follow us on social media, we have been teasing a major announcement for the past couple days, or couple weeks, actually. But that announcement was made yesterday. We're going to announce it here on the show right now. As if you couldn't already tell over on our YouTube channel, we are now partnered. The Cannon Fire Podcast is the official Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast for the Believe Sports Podcast Network. I said podcast a lot of times, but that really just lets you know what this is all about. We have partnered up with Believe, and I'm very, very optimistic, just excited about what this means for the show. You know, these guys are really experts when it comes to the lineup that they've chosen. And you look at their selection of football shows. I mean, their Steelers show just this week, they had Ike Taylor on, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Like, these guys definitely know what they're doing, and we couldn't be more excited to be joining forces with these guys and bringing you a next level of CFP content that, you know, we're just so excited for.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. It's something that, I mean, we wanted to share with you guys, you know, coming up. We're just waiting for sort of the right time. So I feel like, you know, now is the right time. And, you know, yeah, we're very excited. And, I mean, don't worry. There's not going to be a whole lot of big changes. Like, we're still going to be Cannon Fire Podcast, stuff like that. Like, it's still going to be us. We're still going to have the same, like, schedule and stuff. But, you know, what's going to end up happening is just, you know, more opportunities are going to come. And there's going to be some cool things on the horizon. So be on the lookout.
Absolutely. Definitely excited for everything in the works, and we are glad to be partnered with Believe. And like Evan said, no major changes coming to the show. We're not going to sell out or anything like that. You know, it's I don't know. It's still our show at the end of the day. I'll just put it that way. But we are absolutely incredibly excited about everything going on. And Evan, dude, I am in such a good mood this week. You know, I've been missing the pod. I've been missing jumping on here talking to people. We did that live call-in show We talked about an ugly loss, but I'm still feeling good about it. I jumped on with, our buddy Robert Green on Outside Leverage and talked about the loss. I feel good. Group therapy is great. But it's got me in such a good mood that, I'm not normally a betting guy, but I am definitely going to be taking a peek at some of the prop bets this weekend for the Bucs game. Maybe see if there's a little bit of moolah to be made. And I'll tell you what, guys, the best place to do that, responsibly, might I add, is with our friends over at betonline.ag. From game spreads and totals to team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any other place online. And they've also got an online casino, which never closes. So again, let me just stress, responsibly, and if you're over 21, definitely go check it out. Head over to betonline.ag today and take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. And we're really excited to be sponsored by betonline.ag. Hopefully some cool stuff's in the works with those guys as well. But let's get into the show. It's been so long since we've actually, talked Bucs football. I know it's been like a week, but it feels like it's been so long. We really just need to get into it. This Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on the Green Bay Packers. Before we get into the game preview itself, we always go over the injury report. So the injury report for Thursday is actually looking pretty optimistic. I think you've got 11 or 12 Buccaneers showing up on the injury report itself, but a far cry from what it was when it first came out earlier this season. So let's go over that, talk about who's going to be playing this weekend. First up on the injury report, inside linebacker Levante David with a knee injury was limited participation today. He should be fine. He's good to go. Cornerback Carlton Davis, I actually wanted to ask you about this one, with an abdomen injury was limited participation today. He did not practice on Wednesday, and it was like an undisclosed, shady injury.
Yeah, so I remember there was a play in the Chicago game where it seemed like Davis got a little bit banged up. I think it was later in the game. That's likely what it was. I can't say it exactly what it was, but when I saw that he was on the injury report, that's sort of the first thing that popped into my head. But it doesn't sound like it's too serious. Bruce Arians didn't make it sound like it was serious at his press conference on Wednesday. And obviously he was limited today. So a lot of people have been asking me. I would expect him to be able to play.
Yeah, I think so. I'll be looking forward to it. And that's a really big piece. Obviously the
huge
elephant in the room for this matchup on Sunday is Aaron Rodgers, who is playing like a man possessed. I mean, playing like your top MVP candidate so far this 2020 season. So having Carlton out there showing off some of the skills he's given us so far this season is definitely going to help this team out tremendously.
Yeah, if you look, the two quarterbacks, it's Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about MVP guys, Josh Allen, his stock took a hit on Tuesday night. But yeah, if you're talking MVP guys, there's nobody better. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have your number one corner.
Absolutely. So that's going to mean a lot on Sunday. Next up on the injury report, defensive lineman Khalil Davis with an ankle injury did not participate. This might delay, I guess, what we thought we were going to see. Obviously I didn't think Khalil Davis was next up. I don't think anybody did, to replace Vita Vea along that defensive line. But honestly, if they didn't like what they were seeing with whoever they had there, it wouldn't have surprised me to see Khalil Davis. But with him not practicing on Thursday, it doesn't look too promising for him suiting up on Sunday.
No, it doesn't. And kind of sucks because it just, you sort of get this opportunity and you're not able to take it right now. Because, I mean, yeah, if you're not practicing on a Thursday practice before the game, yeah, I'd say you're likely not going to play. So, I think I'm not sure exactly what they do because obviously Nacho is going to be like that guy. So I'm not sure who's going to be behind him. Maybe a guy like Jeremiah Ledbetter would be. But yeah, it really sucked for the rookie, who, I mean, finally got an opportunity, and hopefully, this isn't a long-term thing, because if it is, I think you might maybe see them sign somebody then, just to be like some depth. But, we'll have to see. Hopefully, I doubt he plays this week, but hopefully the hope is that it's not long-term anything, so.
Yeah. Next up on the injury report, wide receiver, big number 13, Mike Evans with an ankle injury, that nagging one that he's had, limited participation. I'll tell you what, limited participation today. Obviously, I think they're just using it as a precaution. They're taking it easy on Mike this week. And I will say this, he's going to be in better shape on Sunday than he was Thursday night for damn sure.
Absolutely. I mean, he played Sunday versus the Chargers and then got hurt in that game, came back in that game, got hurt early, came back, played the rest of the game, and then played, not even a week later. I mean, yeah, and he played most of the snaps versus the Bears. So, yeah, his ankle is going to be feeling a lot better on Sunday than it was in that Thursday night game for sure.
Absolutely, and we're about halfway through probably the most crucial injury report, or at least the biggest list of names that I've seen on the injury report. But let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Running back Leonard Fournette with an ankle injury was limited participation. He was limited on Wednesday as well, so he should be good to go. Maybe we see him on a limited snap count, but I think maybe they try and get that rotation working. I know Rojo's had back-to-back 100-yard games. He's been running with a purpose, but getting Leonard Fournette back in there can't be too bad of a thing, right?
Yeah, I think their ideal situation is a rotation. I don't think they view Ronald Jones as a guy that is going to be able to keep having the ball in his hands 18 to 20 times a game. I don't think they view him as that. I think they know that he can do that occasionally, but I don't think they view him as a guy that can do it consistently. So I think having a guy like Fournette is pretty big. And he was active on Thursday, but obviously didn't really play. So I would guess he plays, and he probably, like you said, he might be on a limited snap count.
Yeah, big piece for this offense in Leonard Fournette coming back into the rotation. This next guy I think is even more important for that offense. It's wide receiver Chris Godwin. Had that hamstring injury, was limited participation today and Wednesday at practice. This is a big deal because it seems like this is the first time since week 3 that the Bucs have had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin ready to go. And I mean, I guess you could say week 2 when you consider both of those guys at 100%. So it seems like for the first time in a while, these guys will be... Week
two, Godwin wasn't in. He was in concussion protocol. So.
Oh, you're right, because he had that hit at the Saints game. I forgot that. My bad.
Yeah, Godwin's. You have not seen a lot of Chris Godwin. He played in the Saints game. He played for about 95% of that Saints game, and then played like a half of football versus the Broncos.
Yeah, it's been a rough start for Chris Godwin, but this is that much bigger of a game for him and as well the Buccaneers offense to have him back in. So having both of those guys on the field on offense, even if, they're not getting a lot of targets, it just changes how teams neutralize the Buccaneers offense, and it really opens things up for the rest of the guys.
It changes the playbook for the Bucs as well.
Yeah,
a lot more things can open up for Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady. A lot more things can open up for those two, and they can do a lot more things because you don't have to rely on a Justin Watson or a Tyler Johnson. You don't have to rely on those guys. Now you have your top 2 receivers. You're likely going to have your second string running back in there. You're going to be able to do a lot more things now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this next batch of guys, all of them have participated this week as well as today. Next up, tight end Rob Gronkowski with a shoulder injury, limited participation today. He'll be good to go on Sunday. Running back LaShawn McCoy with that ankle injury, limited participation on Thursday. He should be dressed up on Sunday. Not sure how much you'll see him, but he'll be out there. Wide receiver Scotty Miller with a hip/groin injury, limited participation. That's pretty big for this offense as well because, I don't think he was battling injury. Well, he definitely was. He showed up on the injury report before the Bears game.
Yeah. It was before the Chargers game even. It's been a nagging issue for him with the lower body. Yep.
Yeah, and seeing the status of this injury report, going back to what we said at the top of it, it's just that 9-10 day break that they had, that just helped these guys tremendously. Like it really, really did. So you cannot underestimate something like that. But having Scotty Miller back in the rotation is something I'm excited for. Outside linebacker Jason Pierre-Paul with a knee injury, limited participation. He'll be fine. Happens every single week. He's had that knee injury since week 1. He'll be all right, ready to go for 95% of the defensive snaps on Sunday. Wide receiver Justin Watson with a chest injury, full participation. So we're definitely going to see Justin Watson. But I'll be honest with you. Who do you think gets the nod? Do you think it goes by default to Justin Watson, or do you think after that sample size we saw from Tyler Johnson against Chicago, he might be the guy that they look forward to a little more?
That's actually a good question. And it's not something that I thought about a lot. I think
I like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, you're doing your job here. Man, I would like to think that they would like to give Watson a shot. Like they still want him in there. But I mean, I do think they're going to see, I think you're going to see Tyler Johnson in a lot more than you did previously.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to earn a little bit of Tom Brady's trust now. The only thing, he sort of disappeared in the second half of that Chicago game, which was kind of strange. But I mean, yeah, I think you're gonna slowly. I think Thursday night versus the Bears was kind of the start of phasing out Justin Watson. He's more of a special teams type guy. So I do think you're going to see like Watson. I don't think he's going to be completely phased out of this offense, but I do think that Tyler Johnson is definitely going to be able to see a lot more looks, especially this week and in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Just another dynamic piece of that offense, and I'm curious to see what they do moving forward. This last guy on the Buccaneers injury report is a big old question mark because I do not think he plays Sunday, and I wanted to ask you what that means for the secondary. But safety, Jordan Whitehead with a knee injury, did not participate in practice on Thursday. That changed from Wednesday. So what's the deal with Jordan Whitehead?
Yeah, well, I mean that's never good, right? I think what you're going to be able to determine is the Friday practice. Is he a limited participation or is he not going to participate? If he's not participating, he's not playing. If he's limited, I think he'll probably give it a go. But I mean, it's not a good sign. So if he can't go, let's say he cannot. The Bucs safeties are Andrew Adams, Mike Edwards. Basically, those are like the two main guys that are like backups per se. So I think you'd see a lot more Edwards than Adams because I feel like Edwards is more of fits the Whitehead role a little bit better than Adams does.
Definitely.
So I think you would see a little bit more of him. I think they like him in that spot. So if Whitehead can't go, I think you'd see Edwards a good bit. I think they'd move Antoine Winfield around a good bit, maybe put him in some nickel situations so you can have Edwards and Adams on the field at the same time at some point. So I think if Whitehead can't go, I think it's an underrated loss. Yeah, he's not the best in coverage, but I think he's very underrated in his run support, and I think he's a big reason why, I mean, you see the Bucs blitz a lot with Whitehead when they bring a safety down. It's Jordan Whitehead a lot of the time, and it would be an underrated loss. It wouldn't be crushing, but it would be a very underrated loss if he's not able to go on Sunday.
Yeah, and while the sample size this year hasn't been necessarily as flashy as it's been in years past, I mean, he's definitely been playing his role. Exactly what you said. He's great run support, and it would be a bit of an underrated loss for that defense should he not dress on Sunday. Let's take a look at the challengers, the Green Bay Packers. They have also got quite an extensive injury report, so we're not going to spend nearly as much time on this one, but here we go. Wide receiver Davante Adams returns to the lineup this week off of a hamstring injury. He was full participation on Thursday. He's going to be good to go.
Another reason why Carlton Davis is needed. So
yeah, exactly. That's why it is that much more important that you see 24 for Tampa Bay dress on Sunday as well. But Davante Adams, that's really big for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers offense. Next up, defensive lineman Montravius Adams with a neck injury did not participate, so he should not be playing, at least I don't think, based off of what this looks like. Cornerback, is it Jair Alexander? Jair Alexander with a hand/knee injury, full participation. He should be good to go. Linebacker Chris Barnes with a shoulder injury, full participation. He'll be good to go. Defensive tackle Kenny Clark with a groin injury, full participation. He'll be fine. Running back Tyler Ervin with a wrist injury did not participate, so a little bit of a question mark there, but we'll talk about their running back room here in a second because Tyler Ervin definitely isn't what the Bucs need to worry about mostly in that backfield. Linebacker Rashawn Gary with an ankle injury, limited participation. He'll probably be fine. Cornerback Kevin King, quad injury, did not participate. Tight end Mercedes Lewis with a knee injury did not participate. That changed from Wednesday as well. So a big question mark right there along the Green Bay offense. Linebacker Zadarius Smith with an ankle injury was full participation. And cornerback Chandon Sullivan off of concussion protocol was full participation all week as well. Let's get into this game preview, man. There is a lot that we need to break down about this Green Bay Packers team. And I will say that the first thing we need to say to really just lead it off is like, we talked about Aaron Rodgers, but this team is not just Aaron Rodgers, okay? Aaron Jones their starting running back has been absolutely shredding this season. Okay, their offense as a whole, they lead the league with 38 points per game. So let's, not forget that. Aaron Rodgers is a big part of that. 445 yards per game the Packers are putting up on offense. They've played some scrubs, but they're putting up 445 yards per game. They're a pretty balanced offense. But you look at their rushing stats, and I think, while they are a balanced offense, thanks to Aaron Rodgers playing like a freak this season, 158 rushing yards per game, led by Aaron Jones, who has 374 on the season and 4 touchdowns. If I'm not mistaken, he's like top 3 in the league for rushing right now, right?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so.
So, what I'm trying to say, and I think I wanted you to expound on this a little bit as well here in a second, but it's a lot more than Aaron Rodgers. And, for a Bucs run defense in particular, who just lost Vita Vea last Thursday, it's going to be a pretty critical test for those guys if they want to stay first in the league, which they are ranked right now.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a huge test because, the Packers have sort of had a little bit of a resurrection recently. If you remember, during the last years of Mike McCarthy, they were sort of average, right? Like, I think didn't they go like 7-9 the year he was sort of fired in season? The year before that, they went like 9-7 or something.
Yeah.
So, they were getting average, and a big reason why. And a lot of people thought, Aaron Rodgers sort of had an issue with Mike McCarthy. The offense was predictable, and it was just Rodgers. There was no semblance of a run game. Now, a little bit of a different story, and you can do so much more with a good run game. And when you have just a game-changing back like Aaron Jones is, man, it opens up so much more and it makes it so much harder to defend because you know that Aaron Rodgers does not need to throw the ball 50 times to put up 40-plus points. They don't need to do that. So not having Vita Vea this week, it's rough. When you look at it next week with Josh Jacobs, not having Vita Vea that week's going to be rough too. So they're going to have to power through. I don't think Jones is going to run all over him, but they also like to get Jones involved in the passing game, which I think might be a problem because the Bucs haven't been able to contain that as much as I think Todd Bowles would like them to this season so far. So, yeah, it definitely brings a completely different dimension to the offense, and it's something that the Bucs got to watch out for. He's been on a tear, and that's part of the reason because why Aaron Rodgers has been on a tear. That threat of a run game is just so big, and when the other team knows that you're going to throw the ball 45 times and you're not going to run it, it makes your offense one-dimensional, no matter how good Aaron Rodgers is. And, Aaron Rodgers is likely, I think arguably a top 10 quarterback of all time, maybe. So no matter how good he was, they were still losing games. Now they finally invested in the defense a little bit in the draft with Jair Alexander and Kenny Clark, and they went and got Zadarius Smith from Baltimore and Preston Smith from Washington. They went and got those guys. And now they let Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones go to work. And Devontae Adams is still obviously good. They have a really good offensive line. David Bakhtiari is like one of the best tackles in the game. He's just not talked about. It's all good. It's just, they are a good football team. And I didn't think they had a good offseason at all. And, imagine what they could do if I thought they had a good offseason. Like if they didn't pick Jordan Love and pick somebody that could help them out now, like you'd be looking at them possibly, being the runaway Super Bowl champion.
I was just about to jump in there and kind of make a jab at it. But yeah, the only thing that would make this scary offense a little bit scarier is if Aaron Rodgers had a first-round rookie draft pick he could throw to a wide receiver. Because that's, they just kind of, they definitely whiffed in the offseason. And I think people had more concerns. I think people definitely had more concerns about this team than so far, from what they've shown us, they should have had.
Because Aaron Rodgers changed the clock back to 2012. That's why.
He's still only 36 years old, though. That's the thing.
Crazy.
Like, I talk to people who swear that Aaron Rodgers is in his 40s, and no, he is 36 years old. If there is any time for him to really hit his stride and play in his prime, it's probably going to be the next 3 or 4 years.
I mean, if you want to talk about the quarterback with, like, the most talent, like, he's got to be top 5. Like, if you're talking, like, most talented quarterback, maybe not best, but most talented, like, most gifted, accuracy and arm and stuff like that, like, all of it combined, dude, I mean, some of the things he can do with a football is ridiculous. And, he's really been showing it the last 2 years, and this year has just been even more. And yeah, he hasn't had Devontae Adams for 2 or 3 games, I think, and it doesn't seem to matter. So, yeah, you look at these guys, Alan Lazard and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and you look at those guys, you're like, oh my God, on paper, you're like, oh man, so it's just Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. No, like, these guys are playing well too, and Rodgers is just on a whole another level. And the Bucs, it kind of sucks that the Bucs got just a hot Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he cools down. They did have the bye week. The Packers did just have the bye week, so maybe he cools down a little bit. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not a great time to be playing Aaron Rodgers, and I think the Bucs defense on Sunday might learn that.
Absolutely,
as so many other defenses have. I mean, if this team goes out and gets dominated by Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't put any shame on it, just because this dude is just playing ridiculous right now.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those defensive expectations here in a second. I guess actually let's just talk about them right now. But I wanted to ask you, the Buccaneers' approach to slowing down Green Bay's offense on Sunday. Obviously, we know they're going to blitz. I think that's in the game plan every single week. You can definitely account for the Buccaneers blitzing and pressuring the quarterback. But one, do you think if they commit to that, they're going to do it well enough? And two, do you think they just need to commit to it and just balls to the wall pressure Aaron Rodgers the whole game? Because it seemed like against Chicago, they couldn't figure out which one they wanted to play.
Yeah, so versus Chicago, they couldn't figure out which one to play, and the balls to the wall one sort of worked better, right?
Yeah.
But Nick Foles isn't Aaron Rodgers, so
that's damn true.
That's the big difference here, and that's why I think I don't think you can't blitz consistently. The dude gets the ball out so quick, and he'll just burn you. He will burn you to the ground, man. He's just going to keep hitting those quick slants and those goes to Adams. And one of the things that he's been best at is just with the cadence and the snap counts. Man, he gets the defenders to jump, and obviously when you're blitzing, you want to get there, so you're more likely to jump. And the Bucs they've cleaned that up a little bit, like the neutral zone infractions and stuff, but that Rodgers is going to try to get him to do it again. Man, it's a tough way to play this one, and this is where I wouldn't want to be Todd Bowles, but it's also why Todd Bowles is making a few $1 million right now to be the defensive coordinator. I'm sitting here doing this because I don't have an answer. If you blitz him, he's going to burn you with his quick arm. If you play coverage, the Green Bay offensive line is really good. I don't know if you're going to be able to get there as quick as you need to against Rodgers. And plus, Rodgers is a little bit mobile too, and they also have Aaron Jones. So I would say that going balls to the wall blitzing is not the best idea to me, just because I think, yes, you can rattle him, but I think in this particular offense, I think Aaron Rodgers would like that, and I think he'd just eat it up. You'd see the 7-yard outs, the 8-9 yard slants, and then he'd hit you with the deep ball, and then they could hit you with screens. It's a dangerous game to be doing that. So I think, like you said, you will see blitzing. I mean, they're not going to completely go away from it because that's their identity, I think, but. I would not be blitzing over 50% of the snaps this week.
Yeah. Now, to close up, the defensive side of the things, I do want to say this. It is imperative that these guys pressure the quarterback, obviously. Me personally, I think it's priority number 1 to neutralize the run game, because it takes away that outlet for Aaron Rodgers. And again, it makes any defense or any offense, if you take away the run game, makes them one-dimensional. Obviously, more chances for turnovers if you pressure the quarterback, yada, yada, yada. We talk about it on every single game preview show. People get the idea by now. But with all of that being said, I just want to say this. You touched on it a little bit earlier. I think this defense can play well. Even if they play well, Aaron Rodgers is going to get touchdowns. He's going to put points on the board. It's just it's going to happen. And with that being said, I'm expecting this to be a higher scoring game, one of the higher scoring games the Bucs have played this season, and I think you are as well. Let's talk about the offense and our expectations for TB12 and his squad taking the field. So as we talked about a little bit earlier, this is the first time since quite a while that the Bucs have had both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin good to go on offense. First and foremost, this offense, it definitely helps having those guys back. It helps that you have a better look against the defense who, can definitely slow people down. But this offense cannot miss out on critical drives. I mean, they were playing with, I guess, scraps on Thursday night. The injury report was extensive, but you got your guys back. If you're close to the red zone, you got to score, because this is a game where whoever scores last is probably going to win. And it's just going to be, touchdown drive after touchdown drives. Bucs have to make sure that they continue to answer on offense, or else this is a game that could get out of hand pretty quickly.
Sort of feels like the Rams game last year. It sort of has that feel of a shootout, kind of. Sort of like you said, sort of does have that feel as, who's gonna get the last laugh, and it's whoever gets the ball last. So, like you said, I completely agree. They can't waste drives. If you get in the red zone, you got to get 6, not 3. That doomed you last week. That's a big reason what doomed you. And also, just the biggest thing is the penalties. The defensive penalties are one thing, but it seems to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball, and it's really stalled drives. I believe Greg Allman said, the NFL keeps stats of stalled drives. And I think the Buccaneers have 14 stalled drives or something like that. And the lowest is Arizona with 15. That's not acceptable. Stalled drives, that means that a drive that looks like it's likely to result in points, a penalty ends up hurting it and it doesn't result in any points. That's what that means. The Bucs have had 14 of those. I mean, if you eliminate penalties here, if you put that down to 7, this team's 4-1, right? If you put that down to like 4, maybe this team is like 5-0. Who knows? But it's not acceptable. And on the offensive side of the ball, it seems to be at more back-breaking times than on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm not sure if everybody gets that read, but it just seems like the offensive line has been playing really sloppy, and Green Bay has a talented defensive line. I know a lot of people look at Green Bay and go, oh, well, their defense isn't good. No, their defense is good. Kenny Clark, Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith. In the secondary, Jair Alexander. When he was coming out of the draft from Louisville, I loved that guy. I thought that he was going to be a stud, and the Packers got a steal. I think they drafted him at like 23 or something like that. And I was like, man, like this dude should have been like a top 10 pick. And he's good. I mean, he's going to be matched up probably on Mike Evans, and it'll be a very interesting matchup to see. But I mean, they got Adrian Amos as a safety. They have a lot of talent on the defense, and yeah, like you said, Bucs have to not waste anything here. You got to play a clean football game, because I don't know how many opportunities you're going to get on defense to take away the ball from Aaron Rodgers. Not sure. He hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. So
has he really?
He has not. He has thrown 0 interceptions. I believe he's the only starter in the NFL to not throw an interception. That's like eligible for it. Like not like, like if a guy just started, like Kyle Allen or something in Washington, like that doesn't count. But I believe he has not thrown a single interception. Yep, he has 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. So, he's been on a tear. So he's not going to give you the ball. So what do you got to do? You got to play mistake-free football on your end, and that's something that you can control. And I think the Bucs did a solid job of that on Thursday, besides obviously the Keyshawn Vaughn fumble, which there was some debate on whether or not it was even a fumble. So I do think that that's going to be a key, limiting the penalties and and having 0 turnovers on offense. If you do that, I think you're going to be able to stick with them. But like you said, it could get out of hand fast if you don't. You have 1 turnover, you have 2 turnovers. The Packers, you got to assume that's points because the Packers are turning into points. Yeah, they got to stick with them. And the biggest thing they did in that Rams game last year was stick with the Rams. You outpaced the Rams. They have to do it again.
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers, 0 interceptions this season. That's why I saw him all smug talking shop on Pat McAfee's show last week. I was like, isn't this guy supposed to be practicing right now? But 0 interceptions. I hate to say that I didn't know that, but that is absolutely ridiculous and just adds to that stacked resume so far this season that we talked about earlier. I wanted to take a chunk of what you said and ask you a little bit more in depth about it. Disciplined football, mistake-free football. I think we can count on the Bucs a little bit better this season than we could last season to play mistake-free football, but when it comes to disciplined football, the talk of the town, you knew this was coming, number 76, Donovan Smith. I mean, what the hell does he got to do this week? Obviously, protecting Tom Brady is priority number 1 for this offense. Mistake-free football is up there, but Donovan Smith cannot play another game like he did last week because if I were the head coach and it were up to me, his ass would be benched.
Look, I know I've been labeled as this like Donovan Smith lover and stuff like that, but
far from it. Anybody with common sense knows that you're not that. We take an unbiased critical look at every player on the team on this show, and if somebody's playing average, we're going to tell you.
Yeah, well, people think that when I say he's playing average, that's not acceptable. He's the worst left tackle of all time.
Apparently.
Yeah, well, he had a worse game in New Orleans. He did. He had a worse game in New Orleans, but I think his game versus Chicago was more impactful. To me, his performance in Chicago was more impactful on the outcome of the game versus the one in New Orleans, just because the Bears game was so close. So what he needs to do this week? Oh, him, I wouldn't even show up to the stadium. You can't get blamed for something if you're not there. So, I mean, that would be my game plan. But if you have to show up, if he has to be there, okay? If he has to be there, block somebody? I don't know. That's what I'd do. I'd try to block a guy with a green jersey on. I'd think that would be a good idea.
Because the Bucs are wearing white at home again, right?
Yeah, well, hey, but the rumor is that they're wearing pewter pants.
The rumor, what, because it was on like the art poster this week?
No, it was on the website.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, damn it, I'll be excited to see some pewter pants. But come on, dude, it's a 4:25 game. Like a 1 o'clock game, you don't want to wear the red and pewter. I get it, I understand. But 4:25, it'll be dark by halftime.
I know.
I'm just upset. I want the red and pewter, and I want it now.
Well, you're going to have to wait.
I know, till November, dude. It's still so far away.
Yeah, so, uniform combinations. White jersey, pewter pants, black socks.
Oh, so, hell yeah.
So we're getting something a little different. But, yeah, blocking out the green jersey. I'm not sure whether he's going to be going up against Zadarius Smith or Preston Smith, but both of them guys are talented. It would be either way.
Yeah.
You're going to get it. So, I think, both guys are very talented, and it's sort of scary because, like, it seems to be the type of guy Donovan Smith struggles against, like the talented guy that's not like a star. Because if you remember, like, the narrative for Donovan Smith a long time was, he plays get down to his competition, right? Like he'll let a backup, get 2 sacks against him. But if he plays J.J. Watt will barely touch the quarterback. And I mean, it was true. I mean, if you looked at his games, it did seem like he was playing down to his competition. So a week after playing Khalil Mack and not playing good, this should be a bit easier. Both these guys are very good, but they're not Khalil Mack. So I want to say he has a better game. I don't know. I'm not an O-line coach, so I can't sit here and tell you, his hands need to be here and here. I don't know, right? I still think, Donovan, if you're listening, just don't go. Don't show up. Don't do it. Okay, it'll say, dude, just opt out. opt out of the game. You don't have to opt out of the season, just opt out of the game. And I mean, you'll get a lot less heck from fans for for just not showing up. You cannot be blamed for something if you aren't there. So it would not be your fault if they lose because you weren't there. So that's not option number one. But like I said, he has to play better. It's simple. If he plays like an average tackle on Sunday, they'll be all right. But if he plays like he did against Chicago or like New Orleans, it could be an ugly day for the offense because having a left tackle that's a turnstile back there, it can derail any offense.
Absolutely. And I guess it's pretty telling of the season that he's had so far if his best option at this point is to just not show up, phone it in, and then show up next Sunday. But
that's even if I don't know if they win this game, I don't know if I'd show up ever again. I'm like, oh, I'm the bad luck charm.
Oh man, one more thing I wanted to talk about with this offense before we get into the weekly checklist and break it down. Commit to your play calling. This was another hot topic out of the Thursday night game. 4th and 1 in your own territory, you show your ass and you go for it. 4th and 1 with the game potentially on the line in enemy territory. Damn near close to the red zone.
Yeah, they went for it, right?
No, they didn't. They went for
didn't.
3, and they lost by 1 point.
That's right. Yeah.
Just commit to your play calling. Look, if you're going to give Rojo the ball, and if you're going to give him the ball in the first quarter, and you give him, I don't know, over the first half, 12 carries, and he's really going on a tear, just give Rojo the ball the rest of the game.
Yeah, like when you have under 3 minutes to go and you run it the first time, but it loses 2 yards, and you throw 2 straight times to take off only 16 seconds off the clock. I mean, just logical.
If you find yourself before halftime, there's 18 seconds left on the clock. Maybe you've got a timeout. Maybe you got a chance to spike it. And it's 4th and 1 on the 18-yard line. Just go for it. Especially if you're behind. Just go for it. But if you're going to establish an identity for what kind of offense you're going to be, you need to stick to it. You need to just commit to it, and you can't flip-flop because there is a long list of things that'll lose you games in the NFL. So far this season, we've talked about quite a bit of that list, and over the 4 years that we've done this podcast, we've covered probably 85% because that's Bucs ball, baby. But
yes, sir.
Committing to your play calling is just another thing on a long list of what will lose you football games. And if the Bucs are, just in a position where they really have to buck up and do that, they need to commit to one thing or another. They just cannot be caught being wishy-washy because similar to the defense, if you're wishy-washy, you're just going to, you're going to get destroyed. It's going to be figured out and it's not going to end well is what I'm trying to say.
They are a throwing football team that is trying to pretend to be a running football team.
Trying to pretend? I mean, 2 100 back-to-back yard games. I don't know what else. How are they pretending at this point? I get it. I don't think Rojo is going to be the bell cow back. And Leonard Fournette back is obviously going to get this offense to what we saw earlier in the season. But I don't think you're pretending if you have a running back who can run 100 yards twice a run.
How'd they get back into the game versus the Chargers?
They threw the damn ball.
Yes, they did. Okay, Tom Brady threw what? Was it 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns?
5 touchdowns that game. He got himself NFC Offensive Player of the Week for the first time in his prestigious career.
Yeah, what a bum for only first time.
God, so washed.
Anyways, don't even remember what down it is. So I mean, and then on Thursday, yeah, they ran it with him, but then you don't run it with him in the biggest spots. You want to know why? Because you're a throwing football team. And they know they are, and they're trying to mask that they aren't. And just like you said, I agree. Stick to something. If you're a throwing football team, throw the dang ball, right? If you want to be this running team, feed Rojo and see how that works. Feed Leonard Fournette, see how that works. Just stick with something. But to me, the consistent play calling has to be the biggest thing. If you're going for it on 4th and 1 in your own territory, and you don't go for it on 4th and 1 when you need a touchdown. I mean, obviously you didn't need a touchdown because the field goal would have given you the lead anyway. But in that scenario, go for the touchdown. Like, come on. Seriously, especially in this game, if you have a chance to put away Aaron Rodgers, like let's say the Bucs are up 5, right? And they have a 4th and 1 and they kick the field goal to be up 8. No. You better be going for that thing to try and get the touchdown to end it. okay? To go up double digits where Rodgers can't come back. You don't want to give Rodgers the ball with a chance for him to tie it. No freaking way. So just if you're going to be aggressive all game. Why are you going to be aggressive in certain positions of the game in certain halves? In the first half, we're going to come out and just be as aggressive. We're going for a 4th and 1 in our own territory and this and that. And then, in the fourth quarter, when it's most important quarter, you're like, oh, well, we're going to play conservative here. No, that's not acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything that you had just said. We definitely share the same thoughts when it comes to the identity of this team. And we just kind of have to wait and see what they roll out with on offense come Sunday. But hopefully it's enough to win them the football game. Speaking of winning the football game, every single week here on the Game Preview Show, we wrap things up with something called the weekly checklist. And a lot of it is, 3 major points that we talked about over the show. If the Buccaneers can do these things, they should come out victorious on Sunday. First up, stop the run. That's priority number 1. If you can find a way to slow down Aaron Jones and that backup who was talking shit about Tom Brady this week, which, by the way, I'm sure did not go unnoticed by Mr. TB12. But if you stop the run, makes any offense one-dimensional, and it's very important that it makes Aaron Rodgers in this balanced as hell, productive as hell Green Bay offense one-dimensional, and it just gives you that much more of a chance to maybe get a takeaway, which in turn can win you the game. Next up, commit to your play calling. We just talked about it, so I really don't have to say too much about it, but commit to your play calling on offense and defense. Find an identity and just stick with it. Third, protect Tom Brady for the love of all things holy. Tom Brady cannot get hit like he was against Chicago. Tom Brady cannot get hit like he was against Chicago for the rest of the season. We kind of knew that when they signed Tom Brady way back in the offseason. But this offensive line needs to play to the standard that they set for themselves, because there was a stretch of games where we came on this show and we talked about how well that offensive line had played. So they need to step it up against a Green Bay defense that can do some damage. They need a big game on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with all the points. I really do. I think all those points are valid, and I think if all of them get accomplished, you could see a win. I think, but they're going to need a full team effort. My 2 points are basically obviously always make your kicks. I will say, Mr. Suck Up, you are getting close to me not having to say that. So a few more games there, maybe like 2 more games, I'll shut up about it. How's that? So my other checklist, to me, there's one man who must outplay another to be able to win. And that man is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. I think Tom Brady has to play better than Aaron Rodgers. That's why the Bucs brought Tom Brady here. Tom Brady was brought in to be able to beat these big boys. Eventually, if the Bucs want to make the playoffs this season, they can't beat all the bad teams because there's not enough bad teams on your schedule to beat.
And you're not going to face any bad teams in the playoffs once you get there as well.
Exactly. So what? You just make the playoffs? Oh, we'll lose, whatever. No, that's not the goal. That's a great point you bring up. So you're not going to play all the bad teams all the time. To make the playoff teams, every now and then, maybe not every time, but
if they're from the NFC East, then that's kind of an excuse.
Well, yeah, that's true, but NFC least. So you're gonna have to beat a good team. You maybe multiple times in a season if you want to be a playoff team. So it's a tough test. It is. It's a tough test, and we'll get into our predictions here right after this. But you're gonna have to win. One of these games here, whether it's versus New Orleans or Green Bay or Kansas City or LA, Vegas looks good. There's some teams that look pretty solid on your schedule. You're going to have to beat some of them. If you want to make the playoffs, if you want to be over 500, you're going to have to beat them just because you can't just beat up on all the bad teams if you don't have enough. So the reason they brought Tom Brady here was to win the Super Bowl, right? This is the type of game that they brought Tom Brady here to win. Yeah. To win this big game, 425, Fox, national TV. They brought him in Tampa. They brought him here to win this football game. You have won 6 Super Bowls. Go out and do it. Go out and do it. I'm a big Tom Brady fan, but Tom, go out and do it. I don't need to say much. Just go out. You know what you need to do. You know exactly what you need to do. Go out and do it.
It is the narrative of this football game. I feel like on this preview episode, we kind of talked around it because I think everybody knows it's somewhat prime time. Most of the country is going to be watching 4:25 on Fox, perfect time slot, Pewter Pants, baby. But it's Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't really matter how your offensive line plays when the next day on ESPN they're talking about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. That's what it's about. So just like you said, Evan, Tom Brady's going to need to step up, and he's a guy who clearly can. It's not like he doesn't have the resume, but definitely looking for a big game from TB12 this Sunday. Let's do some score predictions and wrap up and get out of here. We said earlier, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Evan, I think you think it's going to be a high-scoring game as well. I think it's going to be a close game, and the last team with the ball is your winner. With that being said, this defense will play well. Aaron Rodgers is still going to put up points. It is what it is. Both teams score 30+, 38-35, your final score. Tampa Bay. I know. I'm just the worst, aren't I?
Oh, and you did that little. That was great. That was props to you, my friend. That was pretty.
I do what I can.
That was pretty good. I'll give you that one.
So what's your score?
So, I do. Yeah, I think this game's definitely going to be high scoring. I think you're going to see the offense be good, but I also think you're going to see signs of them just not having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans together for as much as they would like. So I'm going to go. I think the defense will play decent. I don't think they're not going to get. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to go out and throw 6 touchdowns against them, but
I hope you don't eat those words, man, because he very well could.
Well, you might. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But. Maybe they get an interception off them this week. I don't know.
That's a bold prediction I'd like to make. Maybe the Bucs defense gets Aaron Rodgers' first interception of the season.
Is it maybe or will? Because if it's maybe, it's not bold.
I'm not a betting man. If I were to go over to our friends at
there you go.
betonline.ag, I'm sure there's a bet on it. But I will say that. You know what? To hell with it. I'll look for the bet this weekend on betonline.ag. I think the Buccaneers defense gets Aaron Rodgers' first interception of the season. Big takeaway for the Bucs at a crucial moment in the game.
Is that how they win the game?
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think Aaron Rodgers in crunch time is throwing a pick.
All right, you're probably right. So I think it is a high-scoring game. I think both teams are going to be in the 30s. I'm going to go 35-31. Now, the city that I'm going to pick, its second name is Bay. So, just saying.
Really narrows
it's a little hint. It does. It narrows it down to 2, right? Just what happens as the two that are playing each other. I'm gonna go Green Bay. I don't. If the Bucs had OJ Howard and Vita Vea, especially Vita Vea, I'd feel a whole lot better because Aaron Jones has been on a complete tear. But obviously they don't, and I think that the Bucs will play well. I think it'll be a really good game. You'll look at it as one of the better games of the 2020 season. But I think I think Aaron Rodgers just makes one more play than Tom Brady does. Maybe the Bucs need to get the ball back with like a minute and a half left, and Aaron Rodgers just makes some ridiculous throw to move the chains, and the Bucs don't get the ball back. Something like that. He'll make one more play than Tom Brady will, and that'll be that. But I think the Bucs fans will leave the game feeling excited about the offense. I do think that.
No doubt an exciting game on the horizon for Tampa Bay. If you have your picks for this Sunday's matchup, make sure you leave them in the comments if you're watching over on YouTube. And that's just about going to do it for us. That'll wrap up this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening on any of our major podcast outlets or checking us out on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on that little bell icon so you get notified every single time we go live. And if you're listening to us from the Believe Podcast Network, welcome. And once again, folks, with everything going on in that partnership, we are very, very excited about the content that we're going to be bringing you here soon. Follow the show on social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Basically the best place to go for updates on the show. And of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Buccaneer news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily. Congratulations on 25,000 followers, my friend. Quite a feat.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. And like I said, thank you to everybody that follows. Couldn't do it without you guys, obviously. And the reason I still do it is because of you guys. It was just a page I started in November of 2013, and I had no idea that it was going to grow to this. I would have never guessed that someday it'd have 25,000 followers. It's just still kind of crazy to me. And thanks for, a lot of you have been on this journey with me since day one. So thank you guys, and thanks for continuing to be the best, supporting the page and supporting the show.
All I got to do now is hit you with that certified, the check right there on Instagram. That's all we need right there, baby.
That's all we need. That's what we're waiting for, right?
Hell yeah. Folks, you can also find Evan on Twitter at EvanNFL. And you can find myself on social media, Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are Rhettakus, Rhettakus. And if you follow me, I'm pretty sure I will follow you back. This Sunday, huge game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We are awaiting anxiously. We'll talk to you guys on Monday after the game. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish, and we'll talk to you then. Go Bucs!